Here are 19 incredible tips and secrets in Zelda Tears of the Kingdom that you need to know right now, as they will greatly enhance your gaming experience. Have fun and let's go! In Tears of the Kingdom you can use your Pura pad to zoom in just like with binoculars, allowing you to discover various things in the distance early on. Let's be honest, depending on what interested you the most in the distance, such as those big stone balls in the sky, you planned your travel route. Just always head towards where the coolest things are waiting for you. If you mark something interesting with the pad, it will be indicated on your map with a colored marker. Compared to BOTW, this isn't really something new, except now in Tears of the Kingdom with the new Pura pad, you can use the binoculars while being in the air, falling from the sky or gliding with a paraglider, instead of using the old Sheikah slate. This allows you to mark places even further away. And the best part is, while zooming you still see everything moving and the game continues. Quick example, if you're falling from the sky while looking through the binoculars, the game keeps going, you keep falling and it doesn't pause. This makes the game much more dynamic and you feel so much more free than in BOTW. I know for some of you out there this might seem insignificant, but believe me, all players who extensively use this feature, especially because traveling from land to sky and from sky to land in Tears of the Kingdom happens quite frequently, will have much more fun playing the game and not just mindlessly follow the storyline. While we're on the topic of markers, have you ever wondered how you should differentiate between the markers? And no, I'm not talking about the shape. You can travel in the depths, on the surface and in the sky. So what if I mark something cool on the surface? It will now be shown on my map. But how am I supposed to remember tomorrow, among all these markers, whether the marker was for the surface, for the depths or for the sky? I mean, it all looks the same on all maps. Very simple, take a close look. The marker is displayed in the same spot on all three maps, but it only glows on one of them. On the other two it looks somewhat faded. And who would have thought, on the map where the marker glows, that's where you placed it. You can't imagine how many players don't know this. It drives me absolutely crazy every time I see it. To tame horses, you need to be on their backs. You're probably thinking, well duh Zelda senpai, that's obvious. We also know that it's best to not wear noisy armor because it might scare the horses around the one you're trying to catch, and that you need a lot of stamina or else you can't catch rare horses. Well, all that is true, except the biggest misconception in all of Tears of the Kingdom is that you need a lot of stamina to catch a rare horse. That's not true. What really matters is how often you spam L while taming the horse. Let me tell you a secret, the game doesn't care how much stamina you have, it only cares about how many times you've pressed L while sitting on the horse. Every horse in the game has a certain number of times you need to press L in order to tame it. Legendary horses usually require more, while common ones require fewer presses. So, if you want to have a horse, ignore your stamina and hammer through that button as much as possible and you'll get every horse. Of course, having more stamina allows you to take more time, but it's not necessarily needed. In other words, you can literally get the rarest horse in the entire game, like the golden horse, with only one stamina wheel if you press quickly enough. And yes, it's more than doable. Once you have your new companion and check the stats at the nearby stable, if you notice that the horse doesn't trust you at all, here's the best trick to change that quickly. Just feed the donkey some apples and you're good to go. No, like seriously, you can practically stand AFK and hold all your apples in your hand. Feeding each apple to the horse increases its trust parameter. Plus, it's really cute. And if you're thinking, Zelda senpai, that's really cruel, forcing your horse to eat tons of apples against its will, I'll just say this. Your method of stroking the horse's neck so many times that it becomes sore, inflamed and experiences hair loss in that area isn't much better. Yeah. Anyway, you should still do it, because we all know what happens when our horse isn't tamed and we ride over a bridge. Oh, disturbing memories. So does this mean that we can get the strongest horse in the game with full trust parameter right at the beginning? Yes, that's exactly what it means. Do you recommend it? Absolutely. Every player knows this problem that just won't go away. You're walking around somewhere and want to cook a stamina dish to climb a mountain or sleep because it's getting dark. Well and good, both are great ideas, but unfortunately it starts raining again and neither is possible because the rain keeps putting out your fire. Now, some clever person out there might say, well, then find some shelter. Yeah, but what do we do if there's none nearby? Well, again, very simple. We build our own. Construct a small roof out of any materials, like wood logs, wooden planks or whatever, and place your fire underneath it. And yes, I know that you don't always have these materials at hand, and that's precisely why you should build such a construction just once. Seriously, only once. For instance, at a stable, and then save it in auto build. No matter where you are now, no matter when, you'll always have a shelter with you and nothing can happen to you. Really, if you should take away just one thing thing from the entire video, it's to build one of these for your journey. It takes less than a minute and will spare you so much frustration on your future travels. Thank me later. Here's a short but potentially incredibly helpful tip. If you find a powerful item that you absolutely want to fuse onto one of your weapons, no matter what, but notice that all weapons in your inventory already have a fused item, you can manually remove that item. Press A on the weapon once and then undo the fuse, but beware, the item you remove this way will be irreversibly gone forever. It won't return to your inventory, it won't drop at your feet, it's gone and needs to be collected again. If you don't want that, but still want to get rid of the fused item on one of your weapons, let's say you accidentally attached a rare gemstone that you want to sell for money, then go to Terrytown and speak with this little Goron here. He can remove the material you attach to any weapon for 50 rupees. Now you might wonder why pay for it when you can do it yourself for free. Quite simple, when you have this Goron kid do it, I hope this isn't illegal child labor, you'll get your material back. Generally speaking, I actually recommend always having a weapon without fusion so that you don't end up in the situation where you can't carry a strong item. In BOTW there was a tiny but really cool secret that almost every player knew about. You could find an apple under a bridge in Kakariko. Why it was there and who put it there, no idea. Although I suspect it was the old grandma, she's got a bad temper and a lot of secrets. I've got my eye on you, granny. Shockingly enough though, it turns out there's not just one apple there now, but two of them. What on earth are you doing with those apples down there? If you want to eat, then sit your damn self at the table. In 100 years, there will be so many apples down there that the bridge won't have any water flow anymore and the village will suffer from a water shortage. Okay, enough, Grandma. Here comes one of the strongest weapons in the entire game. Well, at least at the beginning of the game, that everyone should use. The icicle, and no, I'm not crazy. Whenever you find one, you can shoot an icicle from the environment and attach it to one of your weapons using the fuse ability. Sure, it doesn't add much damage to your weapon, to be honest I don't even know the exact amount, but that doesn't matter, because it's all about the element that the icicle brings with itself. There's fire, usually not great, electricity, usually not great, and ice 100% of the time completely overpowered. And now guess which element the icicle has. See, ice not only freezes your enemies, making them all incapacitated, so you only fight them one by one, which is very effective against hordes of monsters, but it also has a damage multiplier. You're probably thinking, well great, now I do 10% more damage. Wow, Zelda senpai. No, you do 300% more damage. Let me rephrase that. You do 3 times the damage, and this applies to the weapon that strikes to free the enemy from the ice. So you could have the worst weapon in the entire game, freeze the enemy, then take out your heaviest club and swing at it, and the enemy will shatter into 1,000 pieces. If you have a weapon with 100 damage, you do 300 damage with one strike, without an attack boost. With one you do 450 damage, and how brutally strong this is you can see here. And that's precisely why the Blizzard Rod in BOTW was so incredibly good. Freeze everyone with R and then smack each one once and done. So please do yourself a favor and use the icicles at the beginning of the game. And if you're already further along, attach Nidra's Ice Horn to the Master Sword. You all know that the weapons in Tears of the Kingdom, just like in Breath of the Wild, can break, right? Go into your inventory and take a look. When there's a golden star flashing next to your weapon, it still has full durability. If it's glowing red, then it can only withstand a maximum of 3 hits, and if it's neither, then its durability is somewhere in between. So when you get the indication that your weapon is nearing its end and you don't intend to repair it, just give it 2 more hits and then, instead of the 3rd strike, throw it at your enemy. This has 3 major advantages. First, you have more reach. Second, you do, as far as I know, I don't want to spread misinformation, more damage. And third, it's very satisfying to give the enemy 2 smacks and then throw the whole thing in their face. Yeah, I have no idea, it just makes me feel like a cool guy from a high school movie who doesn't care about rules. It's really fun. A very important piece of information that way too many players miss. The worlds in Tears of the Kingdom aren't just decoration. They're actually walkable places that almost always have decent loot. I can't blame you if you didn't know that yet, because the worlds in BOTW were really just for show. The best part is that you can loot them not just once, but after every blood moon, which occurs approximately every 2 hours and 48 minutes. While you won't find extremely powerful swords in them, you'll come across helpful fruits, insects and other stuff from time to time. It might be a good idea to mark the worlds on the map once you find them, and if you pass by again, just take a quick 5 seconds to look inside. Additionally, it's also really cool that you can still see the water source in some of them, the reason why the well was built. These little details, in my opinion at least, make this game feel much more alive. When Link climbs a tree and goes all the way to the top, he casually hangs there with one arm, which strongly reminds me of Mario from Super Mario 64. Also, this is somewhat insignificant but nice to know, his stamina regenerates when he's hanging at the top, but it doesn't when he climbs the tree in the regular way. In Tears of the Kingdom you can sort your inventory. While it might seem unnecessary at first, it's actually incredibly helpful. I'm the perfect example of this. I've played BOTW and now TOTK without ever feeling the need to sort my inventory even once. The consequence was that no matter what I was looking for on any page, whether it was a weapon, a material, food, armor, I'd spend half a minute trying to find what I needed. And that led me, that's quite embarrassing to admit, to sometimes thinking I didn't have certain things when I actually did. Not that I'm proud of it, but that's just how it was. If you want to avoid this in your game, press Y once in the inventory, or what many people don't know, also in the quick menu, and it will be organized for you. The filters include sorting by type, like one-handed, spear, two-handed, by fuse power, or quite practically, by most used. It's very helpful when you need a strong weapon immediately and want to know what your strongest fuse item is. Both have various attributes, different amounts of damage, different ranges, some shoot 1 arrow, some 3, some 5, basically there's an endless variety. However, what they don't have is different projectile speeds. The only way to change the speed of an arrow is by fusing a rocket onto it. This is very helpful when, for example, you want to shoot over long distances on the platforms in the sky or activate platforms and shrines. It doesn't add much damage, but the arrow flies fast and covers long distances. But what do we do if we're out of rockets? I mean, this happens quite often since we also need them for vehicles, for flying with the shield and many other things. Well, then we take a bird glider, and yes, I know putting a rocket on an arrow for added speed makes sense, but a glider that looks like an eagle and one made of stone? As silly as it may sound, it actually works. It doesn't make the arrow it's attached to as fast as a rocket would, but it significantly increases the speed and the range. Plus, the arrow flies straighter, so more in a straight line, which significantly simplifies shooting. However, please note that almost no damage, I believe 1 damage or something, is added. So don't expect the big bang you'd normally imagine when you shoot someone in the face with a huge stone eagle. This tip will help every one of you because we all use these, the capsule vending machines. There are some important things to consider here. First, you can put both crystallized charges and zonai loot from constructs, like a zonai horn, into them. The difference is that you don't really need the horns, as they quickly stop giving you the desired attack boost, and in the machine they yield far fewer zonai devices than crystallized charges. So save the crystallized charges for as long as possible and only use them for the vending machines, as they're essentially the only way to get many parts. You don't really need them for more battery, because you'll get enough battery cells quite quickly anyways. Theoretically you could use the horns, but I think I'd rather sell them for rupees, because rupees are extremely important in this game, especially in the beginning. And let's be honest, anyone who looked at the prices for upgrading armor at the Great Fairy Fountains knows exactly what I mean when I say you should take every rupee you can get. Second, there's a hidden system. If you throw a crystallized charge into the machine, you get 1 zonai device. However, and here's the crucial point you need to pay attention to, if you throw 5 crystallized charges into the machine at once, you get 12 zonai devices, almost 2.5 times as much. What does it mean for you? Quite simply, always wait until you have 5 crystallized charges and only then throw them into the vending machine so you don't waste any potential devices. Third, the last point, if you're crazy enough to throw 5 crystallized charges into the vending machine, it will freak out and short circuit, because it can't believe you're trading such important items for capsules, and the result is that you've won the lottery and so many capsules come out of the thing that it gets jammed. No joke, it's so many that you can't even pick them up in time. Whenever you find a big hole in the ground, definitely jump in. I know it might seem a bit intimidating at the beginning because it's all dark and you don't know what's waiting for you down there, and even later in the game when you've been down there a few times already, it's not really tempting to go down because every location is different and initially you have no clue where you are. But please do yourself a favor and always go down there. Why, you might ask? Because every time you go down a hole you'll always have a route right next to you, which not only illuminates the surroundings for you but also expands your map for the depths. And most importantly, you get a teleportation point, essentially like a tower in the overworld. This will greatly simplify the game for you, and later you won't have to go down into a completely dark underworld when you've already covered the entire surface. No, you'll have done it right away, can teleport anywhere, have uncovered the map, everything. Many of you will probably ignore this, but believe me, it's so damn important. Here's one of my absolute favorite secrets in all of Tears of the Kingdom. Although, is it a secret? I don't know. But what I know is that by pressing D-pad down you can whistle and call your horse. That's nothing new, it's always been possible and the game itself explains it too. But what's really cool is if you run away from your horse on a meadow, whistle, and at the right moment, when it has almost reached you, press A. Then Link elegantly jumps onto his horse. What I've been doing for years is having a specific goal in mind. For example, I want to reach a specific location and I see enemies on the way there. Most people would ignore them because they want to get to their destination quickly, but I ride full throttle towards the enemies, jump off my horse forward, kill a few of them in mid-air, then defeat the stronger enemies once I landed, collect all the loot in a sprint and then run back to my destination, whistle for my horse which comes to me, and I swing onto it and continue the ride. I know that was a long explanation, okay? No joke, until today I swear it's the best feeling I've had in Zelda. Nothing embodies freedom more, and then when you're still riding on your horse, equipped with a spear and hold down X, the attack button. Oh my god, what is that? It looks so damn awesome. You just look like a fearless hero, the type all women adore, so I guess you can't really blame Zelda for loving Link. Maybe that's why every third viewer on my channel is female, who knows? And now not a single one of you can ever tell me again that a stupid motorcycle is better than a beautiful horse. Has it ever happened to you that you dropped a piece of meat in front of one of those ugly cave worms and it ate it? No? Well, me neither. Anyway, those creatures don't just eat meat, they basically eat everything that's on the ground in front of them. Is it because they can't hear anything, they can't see anything, they can't smell anything, or is it because they're just incredibly ugly? I mean, what the hell is this? If you want to have some fun, throw a bomb in front of their mouth instead of a steak and bang, it explodes inside them and the weak point, that disgusting ball, is exposed. This way you can defeat them without any problems. And no, I do not want to know in the comments what the hell this is. Building vehicles and constructs is one of the core concepts in Tears of the Kingdom. It's no coincidence that the whole game is built around constructing your own structures to master certain story sections. Everywhere in the world you get new components. A fan, a light, a rocket, a pod, a skateboard, a laser, a cannon, a glider, a balloon, a flamethrower, a sled, a spring, a mirror. You quickly receive so many endless components that you might easily think that the more you have, the better you are. But that actually couldn't be further from reality, because not only are large constructs bulky, hard to operate and impractical, they also consume much more battery than small ones. It's like a small European car and a huge US truck. Which one do you think consumes more fuel? There's a reason why this small bike here, made literally from 3 components, yes, 3 components, 2 fans and a steering stick, is the best aircraft in the entire game. You can fly forever, it costs nothing, fits everywhere, you can still see the entire environment and so on. Example, a platform with many rockets attached to it must fly higher than one with only one rocket, right? No, wrong, they fly exactly the same height. So always think carefully beforehand about what your vehicle really needs and save as much as you can. Unless your goal is to build the biggest combat robot, of course. Since we've already had some tips for relative beginners in this video, here's a cool idea for all of you who have already finished the game or just want to experience it differently or more challenging. Your screen usually looks like this: heart indicator, temperature display, minimap, noise level and much more. This is called the normal HUD. But if you go into the in-game settings, you can also choose the Pro HUD, which makes all these indicators disappear. This way you also get a cinematic view like the one in this video. It's great for taking screenshots. But careful, note that your game will become much harder now. You can't see the time of day, no temperature, no hearts, no stamina, and if you really want to have it tough, you won't look at the map either and have to navigate from your memory and with the help of waymarker signs. I'm sure that if you complete the master mode, which might come out in the future, to 100% in this way, then you are truly the legendary hero. Some of you will probably point out that this feature already existed in BOTW, which is only partly true. In Breath of the Wild you could still see the hearts, which was rather pointless as the Pro HUD lost its purpose that way. Long live Zelda TotK. Here's the last but probably most helpful tip in the entire video that concerns all of you. In Tears of the Kingdom, you will often, like really quite often, have to run through hot and cold regions. That in itself is quite cool and fun. I mean, it makes the game much more diverse, which is never a bad thing. But, and here comes the problem, when it's too hot or too cold, you take damage, and not just a little. Essentially, it becomes nearly impossible to traverse these regions. But let me tell you, these are the places that are worth it the most. Because the game knows it's harder there, you often find better loot and more interesting stories. And I know exactly what you're thinking right now, the exact same thing the game tells you. Oh, just make a dish that keeps you warm or cool, depending on which region you're in. The most famous example is probably the chili for a warm dish to help you through the icy area. Or, as others of you might suggest, wear appropriate clothing. For example, lightweight armor so that it's not too hot in the desert. But what do we do if we don't have the right dish or clothing? For 99.9% of players, all hope would be lost in this situation. Then you still have three other options. The first is to carry something suitable with you. For example, a sapphire on your shield and or an ice sword for hot regions to cool down, or a fire sword and a ruby on the shield for cold regions to keep Link warm. The second option is to throw and shatter a choo-choo jelly on the ground in hot areas because it will moisten you. Can you guess what happens next? Right, you're temporarily protected from the heat and can continue walking. And when the effect fades, repeat the process and so on. And the third option is, and almost nobody knows this, to hold a large object above Link's head with the Ultra Hand in the desert, blocking the sun and casting a shadow on Link. As you probably suspected, that also helps against the heat. This game offers so many endless possibilities, so please guys, sometimes just take some time to experiment. When you discover such a trick, the game becomes so much more fun, I promise. Even a seemingly useless item like a choo-choo jelly, which you get in the very first hour of the game, can save your butt and be beneficial in the end. And that's exactly why I love The Legend of Zelda. We've already looked at some really cool secrets and tips that will definitely help many of you, but if I'm completely honest with you, that was just the beginning. Out there, I promise you, there are still hundreds of more practical tips, cool tricks and mysterious secrets waiting for you that will forever change your experience when playing Tears of the Kingdom. If you don't know them, you'll always be lagging behind other players who've seen them. That's why you should definitely watch this video here right now, because in this video I will show you even more incredible facts about Tears of the Kingdom that will definitely blow your mind even more than these ones, I promise. That said, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.